thought it was my album.
I catch myself doing that sometimes. Like my brother.
I know y'all got questions. I know y'all ain't coming with no questions. Come on, hit me with the hard one. The one you've been thinking about for a long time and nobody couldn't answer. We're going to answer it tonight. Get that question answered tonight.
I'm sorry, cry.
You can take time to think about it if you want. We come to you.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Anybody else got any questions? Any other brother? Any other issue?
All right. Somebody had a question about how come, like the truth, like if it's taking so much time, how come you can't see family members and stuff like that, and be a whole big thing about just like time. You understand what I'm trying to say?
That's exactly what you said. Get the book of Luke.
Like, I would like to let you know ahead of time. Another question about like lineage, like how I say, like, I said somebody told me that my great grandfather's white man, or no, on my mom's side, but all the other stuff and all the lineage and things like that.
What you mix? You got to make it.
So how can I say it? Just okay.
They try to tell you your great grandfather was a white man or something.
Yes. A slave master. No.
Slave master.
My great
grandmama.
My great grandmother's father was a white man. So I guess I'm the devil or something. Whatever they say. I don't understand maybe lineage, you know.
Right. And let me tell you something too about that. You know, I hear that a ton. And I'll go into the scriptures and show it to you. But you're gonna hear that a ton. Black people have been saying they from different descendants of white people all the time. 9 out of 10, it comes from a great-grandmother. The men usually don't be the ones saying it. But them grandmamas and them great-great-grandmamas and great-great-grandmamas sitting on that porch drinking that iced tea, she swear it was a cracker that slept with so-and-so. Hold your thought for a second. I'll come back to you. And listen, unless you got concrete proof, unless you spoke to great-grandma before she died, sitting on her rocking chair, and she said, I'm telling you, he was a white man, and she showed you a photograph of the cracker. You understand? And then I still ain't gonna trust it. Because first of all, in the South, there wasn't no hospitals back then. 100 years ago, 150 years ago, there wasn't no hospitals or medical records and long list of medical records and all that. Most of them babies that black people had, they had out there in the woods. And most plantations had very few Edomites on the plantation. You had plantations might have had 10 Edomites running 100 jakes, 150 jakes. So yeah, they was raping black women and all that, but it's not that much mixing like they like to say. You understand? There's mixing, of course. There's some family lines of Edomites. But the real way you tell that is by trying the spirit. I ain't never seen us come up against Esau in the truth and Esau stick around. We done had Edomites that come in here and tried to learn the knowledge, tried to, attach themselves to us, but they were never able to do it. You understand? If you look at Israelite groups, unless the heads of that Israelite group decide they're going to accept white people, then you never see white people join no black Israelite group and be able to stay, whether they got dark skin or not. The Most High always weeds them out. And I'll go back to that. But let's go back to your first question first, and then I'll come back to that. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. You wanted to make a point or a question?
I suppose it is true.
If it's actually true, then that person's family line means that they're a white person. If their great-great-great-great-grandfather that slept with their grandmother had a baby, and that baby was a man, and that man got with another black woman, and their baby was a man, and that man slept with a black woman, and their baby was a whatever that baby was, then yes, they are a white person. But here's the thing. Once again, we've been in this captivity for over 500 years. I don't care, even if my great-great-great-great-grandmama come to me in person, if she showed me the skull of the cracker that she say is my daddy, with the white hair and the blue eyes in his coffin, I'm still not going to believe it. You know why? Because how much rape and molestation was going on? First of all, it was a big secret. Don't you know that part of the whole reason the slave trade got stopped was because white women was fighting against slavery because they didn't want these white men sleeping with all these black women overseas, not over here, but overseas when they was going to get the slave. So they start sending letters to Europe and fighting against the slavery in Europe and over in Africa because they didn't want them. When they left out of them plantations, they went over there, and yes, then they slept with them Africans, slept with slaves, all of that. But every time they had a child, it's always attributed to some white man. I hear it 1,000 times a day. I hear it in my family. I'm from the Caribbean. You understand? I go down to the Caribbean. They always tell, I'm telling you, your great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-great-grandfather was a white man from the Dutch country. That's how come we got that name. Damn that. If he come with blonde hair and blue eyes, if he reappeared, reincarnation, if he pop up in the room, if I have a vision of him, an apparition, if an angel from God comes down and tell me he was a white man, I don't give a damn. I'm telling you, I'm a Hebrew Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. The nation of Israel. And the hell with all of that. You understand? I done heard that 1,000 damn times. If you are a cracker, you will leave out of here and the Lord gonna make sure you don't come back. If you not a cracker, you gonna be up in it. Another thing, white, you think about it. You 15 years old, female, right? You enslaved up under the white man. The master sitting up in a big house, rich, well-to-do, everything. You washing floors. He in full power and authority over you. Now you got your black man or your black boyfriend, but he come down off that hill, snatch you up, and go have sex with you. More than likely, when you have that baby, especially if it's a light-skinned baby, and tons of our kids come out light-skinned. Kids be high yellow when they come out. My grandson, I just had a grandson. I call him a yellow man. He about yellow as he could be. And my daughter and his father is dark-skinned and all. We can have a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby. We can have it. They call albino. People have them all the time. The white man can't have a black baby, but we can have a baby light, all the way to albino. Now, more than likely, when she get pregnant and have that baby, especially if it's light-skinned, she gonna attribute that baby to that white man. And practically every single one of those slave and post-slave black women that slept with white men, and even the ones that had babies with white men, they was also dealing with black men. We in the 20th century. Maury Povich can't even get a nigga's DNA on. Niggas sleeping around and sex going on everywhere. What you think was going on back there with no birth certificates, no paperwork, ain't come, no Harley rules, bushes, woods every daggone where? All kind of mess was going on. So listen, I don't care if the cracker himself come and say he your dad. I'd ignore it. You understand? Because we in captivity. We got to try it by the Spirit. They tried to do that with Nehemiah and them. When they came out of Babylon, and you go back and read the story of Nehemiah, they came out of Babylon, and they were trying to find the records. They couldn't find the record. They was like, well, we can't find these records, so we're going to have to leave y'all alone and leave y'all over here because we can't find these records on who y'all are, what families y'all come from. It's the same here. When we leave up out of here, this is the day, 2006. Half the brothers in the street don't know who their daddy is. So that was we're the same ancestors too. So sis, listen, I don't care what great-grandma said. Under a glass of iced tea and with all her wisdom and her knowledge and pulling out her old pictures. Another thing too, a lot of them sisters was raped by them white men and all kind of psychological damage that happened to them. They attributing babies to them crackers and not to them crackers, all that. The spirit is how we do everything now. That's the only thing you need to care about. You understand? Because there's a lot of devices out here to try to work on your mind. But let me go into the scriptures. Let me first answer the first question that you said. Okay. Get the book of Luke. And I'll answer both of these in the scripture.
What chapter?
Who got it? Somebody got it? 100-fold. Christ spoke.
Probably 10.
10th chapter.
Luke 15, sorry.
Everybody get Luke 15.
No, I'm sorry. It's not even Luke.
Matthew 19.
That the one? Let's get that. To answer Tom Ward's question. Let me explain something to you that America does to work on your mind. It's absolutely different from the way things was in ancient times. In modern day times, men are taught that a real man and a responsible man is a man that takes care of his family, takes care of his wife, takes care of his children. Isn't that right? That's what we taught today, because growing up in society. You go to work hard, you go take care of your kids, take care of your family. I got bad news for you. That's not how it works in Christ's kingdom. In Christ's kingdom, it worked absolutely opposite. And you know why? Because Christ is smarter than you and me. You know what he understood? He understood that men were more valuable. But without the men, you ain't got no society. Any nation, look at any nation in any history. Whenever they take over another nation, what do? They destroy the men. Why do they destroy the men? The men got testosterone. Why do you think men get more muscles in a woman? There's something in their body that give them more muscles, right? Those more muscles is why. Because they meant to fight. They meant to war. They meant to secure. They meant to stabilize. That's what a man is for. So if you destroy those men, now you got a nation with no security, no stabilization. That's what America done did to black men in America. That's why they pushing us into selling drugs. Because if you can push black men into selling drugs, then you can lock them up. If you can lock them up, you can psychologically play on their mind. You can destroy them. You can remove them from their house. So now you can go in that house and rob that house blind. Because it ain't no man in that house. Give me the scripture, Mayat, where Christ said, how can a man enter a house except he bind the master of the house first? Let's read this. Matthew 19, where I'm going, Muhammad.
Matthew 19.
28.
28? Okay. Let's start at 27.
Matthew 27.
No, Matthew's 19th chapter. I'm sorry, Matthew's 19th chapter, and we're going to start at the 27th verse. In ancient times, women was focused on just taking care of the men. Why was they focused on that? Because without the men, you got no nation. You got no strength. So they understood that. So when you trying to rebuild a kingdom, you can't have the men at home taking care of the women. The men got to go to war. Even the white man do that. Don't he take his soldiers and ship them out to war? Now he taking women too. But normally he takes soldiers and ship them out to war. The reason that ain't understood when you tell people today in America, especially black people, because black people don't realize they at war. If they knew they was at war, their men wouldn't be at home. It'd be like, I gotta go to war, man. They killing black people, people on drugs. Kids is homeless, things is going on, we dying. 8,000 black men get murdered a year. That's 6 times was getting killed in Iraq. 6 times happening in the streets of America. You ain't at war. Only one don't know that is us.
Right.
Everybody else know. But so if our people knew that, then would no woman ask you why you ain't home?
That's right.
But the reason they do that now is because they taught, just like you taught, you gotta take care of your family. Think about your career. What about your children? When if you don't go to war and fix black people, your family gonna be destroyed anyway. Your son gonna grow up and become a drug dealer and kill people because you ain't went and stopped the war. You understand? So it's gonna work backwards. So you got to go stop that battle. You can't sit at home while you sit right now in America, right? Ain't it, was it so-called Christmas tomorrow? Is it tomorrow? This so-called Christmas Eve, right? Right now, black men is in all their houses right now, the ones they can. And they got toys under the tree. And they wrapping gifts. And they getting ready to give their gifts to their kids, right? But you know what's not going on? You got thousands and thousands of kids that ain't got no mother and father. They're getting ready to go down the dark path. You got thousands of other brothers that's in the street right now trying to rob somebody to get that Christmas money. Right this minute, they trying to catch them before the stores close. They trying to jack them in their cars, hit them on the train, all that. They was doing home invasions out in West Philly. Cats was dressed up in Pico, the PGW suit, got the badges and everything. 4 deep, weapons under the jackets, knocking on the door, gas leak, gas leak. There's a fire next door from the Christmas tree. We need to get in, miss. We need to get in. As soon as you open the door, they coming in, sticking you up, taking your gifts, everything. Now, bear with me, sis. I'll get back to you. You understand? Now, if you ain't fighting that battle, then guess what you doing? You sitting at home waiting for the enemy to come into your house. Even George Bush knew better than that. He said, we got to go take the fight to Afghanistan. If we don't take it to them, they're going to bring the fight to us. They're going to be blowing up stuff all over our country. So he went and took the fight to them. That's why a man that understands the Most High, he ain't going to be home. Read this. Who read? How old you got? Sis, I'm going to come back to you. Be patient with me. You got to be patient in my class because I run for a little bit. But I will get back to you. Go ahead.
Sorry, 27?
Go ahead. Hit 27 times, y'all. Check this out.
Everybody got it?
Done.
Matthew 19 and 27. Then answered Peter and said unto him, Behold, we have forsaken all and followed thee.
See what Peter said to Christ? Now, Peter was Christ's top man. That's his right-hand lieutenant. He told Christ, he said, man, we done gave up everything for you, man. We done rolled out here with you and gave up everything. Here's what Christ said. We don't.
What shall we have therefore?
What we gonna get for all that we done lost? What we gonna get? Read on.
And Yahushua said unto them, Verily I say unto you, that ye which have followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man shall sit in the throne of his glory.
He said, you that followed me in the regeneration, when the Son of Man sit on his throne, this is what you gonna get.
Ye also shall sit upon 12 thrones, judging the 12 tribes of Israel.
Go ahead.
And everyone that hath forsaken houses.
That what?
That hath forsaken houses.
Yeah. If you go to war, what happens to some soldiers when they go to war? When they come back, do they still got their apartment? A lot of times they lose it. Do they still got their house? A lot of times they lose it. Because they at war. So if you lose houses, go ahead.
Or brethren,
or if you lose family members while you out there in another city teaching and battling, now your grandmama died, or your uncle died, or your homie died, or something like that. You gonna lose them sometime while you at war. Go ahead.
Or sisters.
Or if you lose your sister while you out there at war, your sister died, you can't get back. Go ahead.
Or father.
Or father. Go ahead.
Or mother.
Or mother.
Or wife.
Go ahead.
Or children.
Or children. Even if you lose your children. You out in the middle, your wife like, yo, man, every time I want to spend the weekend with you, I want to go to the mall, I want to go to the movie. No, I'm going to camp. One day she get pissed off and say, you know what? We leaving you. Me, the kids, all of us, we out. See ya. That's right. You done gained one for Christ. He said you gonna lose it. That's what Christians don't understand. Christ ain't no sissy. Christ is about war. He about taking over. He about fixing black people for real, not just talking about it. And let me tell you something, when you go to war, you're going to sometimes lose your family. I'm one. I'm from New York. I ain't seen New York. I ain't been back in New York in 10 years. I ain't lived there. I done went back and forth. I ain't lived in New York in 10 years. You understand? Lost 3 of my children. Lost my wife. And listen, feel great. Got me a new wife. Feel wonderful. You understand? I lost it for Christ, and guess what? Y'all wouldn't have got the truth if I didn't lose it.
That's right.
You would have never known about this. I'm the one that brought this to Philly. Ain't nobody was ever on the street teaching in Philly until we came down here. We came down here and cracked this ground on 52nd and Market. Right after that, Dr. York and them packed up and ran the hell up out of here. It was all up and down 52nd and Market. Next thing you know, this nigga buying a compound in Georgia. He tired of them Israelites coming up against what he's saying. Right. He packed up and he gone. Set up a compound down there in Georgia, and now they gonna lock them up and they're gonna run the rest of them off that compound. They're gonna build a pyramid in the middle of Georgia. Simple as he could be. You understand? But Christ ain't about that, man. Christ is about war and waking up brothers and restoring black people, man. And the only way to do it is somebody gonna have to say, I'm gonna lose mine so that everybody else can wake the hell up.
That's right.
And that's what we had to do. We came to Philly, we did it. And let me tell you, looking at y'all faces, it was worth every bit. Everything I lost, it was worth it. It was worth every bit and more. Because why? We got brothers who otherwise would be probably out either selling dope, killing cats, who knows what. You understand? Caught up in the white man's world, doing something. Instead, they committing their life to doing what? Waking up more brothers. and pulling them brothers out of this mess. Christ said you're going to lose them things. But if you lose them and you stick with him, what you going to receive?
Children or lands for my name's
Or
sake.
even land. If you own land and property and you lose it for Christ's sake, what you going to get?
Shall receive an hundredfold.
100-fold. You going to get 100-fold. You ain't going to lose it for good. You ain't going to lose it for good. Cats go to the war for the white man, lose everything they got, and come back with a medical plan. They barely get a medical plan and come back. But because it's for the country, it seemed right. You understand? What about Christ? We're supposed to be able to do that for him. Go ahead, sis.
Okay. You said that you have to take up another wife, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what responsibility do you have to your home?
I got every responsibility to completely run my home.
And how do you completely run your home if you're not here?
That's a whole nother class, but I'm gonna give you the short answer. You know how a man runs his house when he's not there? By having total authority over his woman. It's easy to run. You could run $1 million corporation in China if everybody do what you say. Right. It's easy. And the problem in America is black men don't know how to teach their wives to obey them completely. But in here, we teach men how to teach their wives to completely obey their husband. And so I could be in Timbuktu. I come back a year later, my house gonna be just like it's supposed to. Or she gonna rebel and run out the door. It's up to her. But let me say this: if she's smart, she'll stick with me. Because out there is death.
That's right.
You understand? And let me tell you something else. It is insane. I don't even know how a woman could even think this way. If a woman get a man that commit himself to God, that don't take drugs, that don't go out and commit crime, that is responsible, that support her financially, for her to turn around because he ain't home all the time and get rid of him is crazy in my mind. With all that these cats doing out there, you got niggas in the down low, on drugs, doing all kind of stuff, sleeping around with tons of women. Israelite men don't have to do that. Israelite men can have, bear with me a second, Israelite men can have more than one wife. But they can't just run around whoremongering, sleeping with all kind of women and doing all kind of mess. They can't do that. So there's rules to that. So yes, sis, it is a very clear way to do it. Peter did it back then. Paul taught brothers how to do it back then. That's where we got it from. And you got brothers in here with 2 and 3 wives that travel out of town all the time. Some with more than 3. Sitting right up in this class right now, and all their wives stick with them. And something else that you're going to find out. But if you stay and you come another time, I'll go into the whole class on men and women relationships. But bear with me one second. Let me just finish this one point. Nowhere else except in here, in this truth, have I seen relationships last longer. I see relationships all out here breaking up, families coming up against them, all kind of stuff going on. But I noticed that when Israelite men learn how to do this in the scriptures, no matter what be coming up against them, their relationships be lasting long. I can run right through this room. How long you been married?
11 years.
Mayag, how about you? You got cats decades in there, 10, 11 years. Anybody else, you married? How long you been married? 4. You got 4. You ain't married yet. You understand? Haas, how long you been? Oh, my goodness. I should have asked Haas. Haas, how long you been married? Haas, what, a millennium? 13 years. 13 years. You know what I'm saying? These brothers hold it down. Keeps their family. Know how to do it according to the scriptures. So it ain't what you think. But that's a whole nother thing. I just want to answer why they ain't at home. But if you come again, sis, I'll be more than happy to totally expound. Put your phones on vibrate, brothers and sisters. If you come again, I'll be glad to go into the whole male-female relationship and what a woman's role is and a male's role. But here's what you got to realize when you first learning the truth. What a man and a woman got to realize that America don't teach, which especially a woman got to realize, is you got to realize that you don't know how to have a relationship. We think we know how to have a relationship. Men and women today think we know how a relationship is conducted. And that's what stopped you from being able to. If you got too much pride in you to think, I know how to deal with my woman, I know how, then you a fool. And you don't know how to deal with your woman. If you a woman that think, well, I know how to be a woman, I know what a man's supposed to do. You puffed up, you carnal, and you don't know. The only way you gonna know is if you humble yourself and say, you know what? Maybe I don't know. Let me see how the Lord said I'm supposed to conduct my marriage. I'm supposed to raise my children. What I'm supposed to do in a time of peace and in a time of war. The water, I take one. In a time of peace and in a time of war. Once you're willing to accept that, then you can learn something. But if you think you already know, you can't learn nothing. So think about that before you venture down that path. I'm telling you, not from just talk. 10, 11, 13 years, I'm telling you from experience of cats here that done came in the truth and done held their marriage down through all kind of storms. All kind of stuff that went on in brothers' marriage. And they still held their marriages on. Another thing too, the first thing an Israelite man, I know I'm venturing, I'm coming back up over y'all. The first thing an Israelite man learned in here is this. The day he sleep with a woman in here, that's his woman for life.
That's right.
Ain't no breaking up. Ain't no hitting it and quitting. You touch her, she yours forever. Forever. You can't never give up unless she sleep with another man. You understand? And that's what makes these brothers, puts them right in the mindset on how to deal with a man and deal with a woman. But I don't want to go into that class yet. But I will if you come back, sis. So was there more on that, Tower, about why a man ain't at his house?
It's last part on verse 30. But many that are first shall be last, and the last shall be first.
Yeah.
Put the other one to
Mike, you got another one? Where am I going?
Mark 3 and 23.
Everybody get Mark 3 and 23. Here's what we ain't learned, man. Every question you ever had in life could be answered in the Bible. The Bible is just like a manual for a human being. Same way you buy a car and the car got a manual on how to operate that car. You understand how to maintain it. When you maintain, change the oil 5,000 miles, get it tuned up at 30,000 miles. Guess what? The Bible is a manual on how human beings are supposed to operate on the earth. It breaks down what he's supposed to do, what he's not supposed to do, what she's supposed to do, what she's not supposed to do, how to raise your kids, how to do things right, how to operate a nation. All that's in here. How to set up a government. It's all right here in this book. Only thing is, we ain't being taught this book and taught to follow this book. Read on. Tell them where you at. Say again.
3 and 27.
All right.
Come on. Everybody got it?
Wait a minute. Go up above it, Mike, if you don't want to. Start in the 24th verse, if you don't mind.
Mark 3 and 24. And if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand.
If a kingdom be divided against itself, it can't stand. You, your household, your children, that's your kingdom right now. As well as your extended nation, all the rest of the black people. That's your kingdom. Now, if your kingdom divided, it can't stand. If your woman want to do A and you want to do B, and somebody ain't got the last word, y'all a divided kingdom. It ain't gonna stand. Somebody got to be the last word. Name anything you want. A country, a government, a business, a corporation. There's always somebody that the buck stop with. And in a family, that's a man. The buck stop with him. He got the last word. When a decision is an impasse, is a problem, he got the last word. Now the problem is you got to know how to enforce the last word. It don't mean just be a brute going there and punch a woman's eyes out and all that. That's what brothers be thinking they got to do. You ain't got to do that. You can establish your relationship and your life with your wife from the door. What it's going to be and stand on it and learn how to do it and be just towards it. A lot of brothers want authority but don't know how to be just towards a woman. You got to know how to be just when you're dealing with a woman too. Because there are going to be things that you ain't going to want to do that you got to do. There going to be things that you ain't going to want to uphold that you got to uphold. You can't just wake up one day and say, I don't feel like being in charge of my family. I'm going to just go out and get drunk today. It can't be like that. You got a responsibility like anybody that's in charge of anything. They responsible for what they in charge of. So a house divided, it ain't going to stand. It's going to fall. The first thing you got to do is make sure your house is not divided no more. And the only way that's going to be is if your kids going to for sure follow your wife. But the key is your wife going to follow you. And if you going to do the things that allow her to follow you, you going to do the things that when she follow you, you ain't seen as being a fake and a false person? Is you real about being in charge? Let's read on.
Verse 25. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand.
See that? If it be divided against itself, it's going to fall. Go ahead.
And if Satan rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand.
If he rise up against himself and be divided, he cannot stand. Go ahead.
But hath an end.
But he's going to come to an end. Go ahead.
No man can enter into a strong man's house and spoil his goods.
No man can enter into no strong man's house and enter his goods unless he do something first. What do you got to do first? Go ahead.
Except he will first bind the strong man, and then he will spoil his house.
First he got to bind that man, then he gets, the word spoil means to rob or to take the goods out of that house. So before you can spoil that house or take the goods out of that house, you're going to have to bind that man. If somebody come in your house, you laying up in the bed, your wife and kids in the house, you hear somebody at 3 in the morning trying to break through the door or trying to come through one of them windows, he going to have to deal with you because you the one in the house. So, but if he binds you, if he able to get you down and tie you up, now he can ransack your house. Christ is saying it's the same thing with a nation. If you want to take over a nation, what you got to do? You got to bind those men. It ain't no reason 2 million black men in prison. That ain't no accident. They set the stage. They cut you off economically so that you wouldn't make no money in no other business. Then they open up the door for you to sell drugs illegally. So then you, since you can't get no money nowhere else, you want to live a decent life. You watching TV, videos, you see everybody living good and driving fly cars and gold on their neck. You want a piece of that. So what do? Being young, you don't think and say, well, if I do that, they're going to get their hands on me. You think I can get away with it. Like all young cats do. You got testosterone, energy. You think I can do this. And sure enough, you go down that road, try to make that move, and then he gets you. Now he got you. Now what happens to the rest of your house? They open for him to take because you gone. They walk right in. So by locking up brothers, there's 650,000 brothers get locked up in America every year. 350,000 get released every year. So that's 300,000 entering into the system every year. Increase every 3 years, they got another million or so. You understand? They piling them on. So with that kind of system, there's plenty of houses to come in. So now your woman on her own with her kids, right? She on her own with her kids. She ain't got you to help make no decisions with. So now she's subject on to what? A woman's emotion. So whatever her emotions get tied to, that's what she going with. So now the white man, all he got to do is do what? Set up Christmas lights, Christmas bells, sing Christmas carols, talk about the beautiful spirit of Christmas and snowflakes. And before you know it, now your woman's celebrating Christmas. Now when December come around, she ain't got the money for all these toys. But she gonna find that money somewhere. And she gonna take the money that all otherwise would be going to your house to structure your house under your direction. And she gonna go do what? She gonna worship Baal, because that's what Christmas is about. And now your house is destroyed. Now the white man that owned Macy's, he owned your house. He lives off your house. The white man that owned Lord and Taylor's and whatever else, he owned your house. You understand? So now you ain't home no more, right? So guess what? It ain't really no reason for her to cook a serious meal no more. Kids eat anything. You can give them a burger, fries, anything. So why she got to sit now and practice them good cooking skills? Well, hell, let's get pizza tonight. Well, let's eat Chinese tonight. Now she ain't cooking no more. So guess who else eating off your family? The Chinese man, the Arab man. Now they eating off you while you sitting in a cage. He eating off you. Now when you get back home, she done lived a life for 5 years or 3 years or whatever without you. So now you come back up in that house talking about, woman, make me a plate of food. That's going to be uncomfortable to her now. Since she had to make all the decisions, make all the money, be in charge. Now here you come with this authority trying to be back in charge. Now she don't like it. So now she wants you out that house. Now you go out that house, and now that family is fully destroyed. And now they're subject to anything in the world. Christ understood that. So that's why Christ made a man not think about his family. Give me the one in Matthew 10 and put father and mother above him. All right? And Christ turned around and said, wait a minute. If a man go in there and his family is his priority, then guess what? His nation gonna fall and his family gonna fall. But if his nation is his priority, then his nation gonna stand and his family gonna stand. And let me explain something to you. What his wife is supposed to know is everything that I just said. If he got a wife that knows that, then what is she gonna do? She gonna roll with him and not roll against him. And now his house is no longer divided. Now she ain't gonna be selfish because he ain't selfish. Now their whole structure gonna be strong. And you ain't gonna be able to enter into it. You ain't gonna be able to go in that house and seduce them into false holidays. You ain't gonna be able to go into that house and get them to spend up their money and get their kids to be on drugs. You ain't gonna be able to do it. Because now that man is upholding his house and his woman is backing him up. And his kids gonna follow right after. The scripture said, train up a child in the way you ought to, and from thence he shall never depart. Problem is, we ain't been trained up in the way we ought to. So we got to turn around and retrain ourselves so that we can train our next generation up and bring them up the right way. With that man in charge, he going to see that young girl and she going to start coming of age. And like all young girls do, she going to start to want to put on a little more sexy outfit. And notice the boys looking at her. But that man being a man, the mother might be like, well, you know, she becoming a woman. Let her express herself. She got to experiment. But that man is the one that's supposed to be like, you know what? Hell no. Without a man in charge, you destroy a nation. Without men fighting for their nation, the nation gonna get destroyed and the family gonna get destroyed. Tell them where you at, Maya.
Matthew 10 and 34.
Everybody get Matthew 10 and 34. That's why the key to all that we do is to follow Christ. That's the key to what we do. If you don't follow, everybody say they a Christian, but don't nobody do what Christ said. We reading it right now. If you a Christian, you ain't supposed to be at home with your family all the time.
That's right.
But Christians do it. They got pastor and co-pastor now. They be showing you the family structure like this is where it's at. When you gonna keep your family by not be sitting up under your family. You gonna keep your woman by not sitting up under your woman. You gonna keep your woman by changing the world that's around your woman. You gonna keep your family by changing the world that's around your family. What verse you at, Maya?
34 verse.
Matthew 10, verse 34. Hold on, let me get with you. Yeah, get 34, that's perfect.
Matthew 10, verse 34.
Sister, I have.
Think not that I am come to send peace on earth.
See what Christ said? Don't think that I come to send peace on earth. Brothers be trying to say they're going home, they're going to be peaceful, they're going to bring their family together. The war coming to your doorstep, whether you know it or not. It's coming to your doorstep, so you ain't even got no choice. You might as well get in the war now, because it's coming to your doorstep anyway. Go ahead.
I came not to send peace, but a sword.
I came not to send peace, but he came to send a sword. Christ is about freeing his people. He really loved his people, man. And he was about freeing these people. And he understood from the Father how you free these people. Read on.
For I am come to set a man at variance against his father.
See what he said? I come to set a man at variance against his father. Why he coming to break up this family? Why would Christ do that? It's Christ talking here. Why would he make a man go against his own father? Because the way the houses and the families is structured now, Christ got to go in them families and break them up and pull out the ones that going to do what he said. The families ain't structured right. The mindset of the family ain't structured right. So he got to go in there and break it and pull out the ones that's right and let them restructure their family. So he said, I come to set a man at variance against his father, a son against his father. Go ahead.
And a daughter against her mother.
And a daughter against her mother. You're going to have a lot of young women that they're going to grow up with a mother that's in the bar every night. She getting drunk, short skirts on, bringing men home. Now that young girl, now naturally, if she's supposed to follow that pattern, but she going to wake up to the truth and she going to say, you know what, Ma, this thing you doing ain't right. I'm going against this. And then now you're going to have a conflict there. Christ causing that, man. Because he want that young girl to start different than the way her mother started. There's going to be a conflict in that house. And that house going to get torn apart. He coming to do it. Everybody think Christ coming to bring everybody together in love. That ain't what's in the book. This is King James Bible. I ain't got no special edition. You can check it in any Bible. He ain't come to do that. He come to rip these families apart, pull the people out of them that want to do what he said, restructure it, and then take over the world with righteousness, brother. That's how he coming to do this. Read on. Tell them where you at.
Matthew 10, verse 35.
Go ahead.
The end verse. And the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law.
And the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. It's going to be in-law battle. Because grandma going to say, well, this is the way things was done in the past. And that daughter going to say, nah, we ain't doing it like that. We done found the truth out. We're going to do what the Lord said to do. We ain't going to talk it. We're going to do what the Father said. Go ahead.
And a man's foes shall be they of his own household.
And a man's enemies going to be they of his own household. You're going to find out you got enemies in your own house. Why? Because you won't want to do what the Lord say, and other family members are going to be like, later for that, man, I ain't doing that. I don't want to live like that. You're going to have an enemy in your own house. Christ calls it. He calls it. Why? He want righteousness set up in the earth. And it's war. It's war. Spiritual warfare. Read on.
Verse 37. He that loveth father or mother more than me is not worthy of me.
Right, because Christ trying to show us the route to get up out of this hell. So now, if you're going to listen to grandma more than you're going to listen to the words of Christ, then you're going to ending up destroying what Christ's trying to build. So you got to love Christ above everybody. You got to be willing to do what these scriptures say that he said to do above. Don't care what nobody said. Don't care if mama don't like it, daddy don't like it. If it's what the Lord said to do, if it's in the scriptures and it's right, that's where you got to stand. And then Christ will raise you up. Otherwise, you're going to listen to other people in your own family, and they're going to carry you off and get you destroyed. They're going to carry you off into some foolishness. Most of our parents don't know what to do. Otherwise, they'd have got us out of this hell.
That's right.
What the hell I'm going to listen to my mother and my father for when they ain't know what the hell they were doing? They wasn't fighting against this evil. They were trying to buy houses and furniture and go on trips and live that kind of life. If I saw my father out in the street battling every week, trying to wake black people up and straighten black people up, well, then I'm supposed to be like, okay, I see that he was against all this evil that I see, so let me get with him. But if I see that my mother and father want to just live life in this world, what the hell I'm going to follow them for? The world messed up. I'm supposed to start new and say, wait a minute, I got to change this. Read on. What verse you at, Maya?
Verse 37.
Hazian.
The end sentence.
Okay.
Bottom of the verse. And he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me.
That's heavy, man. Because everybody love their children. I don't know nobody don't love their children. But Christ said, if you love them more than me, you ain't worthy of me. There's going to be days when your son going to have a baseball game. You going to be like, man, I want to see him play the baseball game. He win this game. He going to get in the playoff. He need my support. He want me there. He going to be like, Daddy, man, you coming to my game, man? This our chance. This our chance. But you know what? There's going to be some black people in another city that's dying on drugs. It's going to be black people in another city that if they don't get to hear this word of the Most High, that they might turn the corner and go out, rob a bank, and end up dead. So now what you going to do? You going to go to the baseball game because that's your son and you love him? Or you going to love the things that Christ loved and saved the entire nation? That's a real man. That's a man that got some balls like you ain't never seen. That's the man Christ called. Christ wasn't no chump. Christ wasn't no soft cat like Esau, like the white man trying to show. Christ was hardcore for straightening out his people, straightening out his nation. And that's how you got to be. You got to be like, look, son, I want to go, but I can't go. We're in the middle of a war. Because if Esau, while you fighting Esau's war, You can't come on, you can't be in the middle of Iraq and be like, yo, my son got a baseball game. He just text message me, y'all give me a flight back. You can't do that. So how you gonna do that when you fighting for Christ, who's way greater king than George Bush?
That's right.
He deserved that kind of loyalty. You understand? Read on.
Verse 38. And he that taketh not his cross and follow after me is not worthy of me.
He that taketh not up his cross. If you ain't willing to stand up and do this, you ain't worthy of Christ. You ain't worthy of Christ. That's why a lot of brothers, like the brother was asking, why is it that the brothers that be in here, they ain't never home? They home 1 minute, they ain't home 1 minute, they ain't got no set schedule, but they at war. This is the jungle. We playing for keeps. We playing for keeps.